Well, the property manager of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate making his first appearance in court today in connection to charges stemming from the classified documents case against the former president. Carlos de Oliveira is accused of conspiring with Trump to delete security footage sought by investigators as they attempted to retrieve those documents from Mar-a-Lago. He is charged with conspiracy to obstruct justice and lying to investigators. Security barriers now surround the Fulton County Courthouse in downtown Atlanta, a very visual sign the district attorney there, Fani Willis, could soon announce an indictment of the former president for his role in trying to overturn the 2020 election. Willis's investigation stems from the now infamous phone call he had with Georgia's Secretary of State, where Trump asked him to find more votes. It is one of several legal issues the former president is facing, including a special counsel investigation into his role in the January 6th demonstration. Today, Trump saying on social media he expects an indictment in that case any day now. Yet, despite the legal issues, President Trump remains the clear favorite to win the Republican bid for president, currently leading by more than 35 points. But some high-profile Republicans, including those who once sat on President Trump's cabinet, don't want him to win the nomination. NBC News reporting just 4 of the 44 former cabinet members are planning to endorse Trump in 2024. Former Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and Attorney General Bill Barr. Julia Manchester covers the national politics for our friends over at The Hill and is here now to discuss. Julia, only those two that I named are not supporting Mr. Trump in his 2024 bid. What do you make of this recent revelation in this report by NBC News?
Look, it doesn't surprise me. I think there are quite a bit of past figures from the Trump administration who have come out against the former president very publicly. And I think we could continue to see that. But ultimately, Nick, I don't think it really matters when it comes to the GOP primary electorate. We just saw the Real Clear Politics average on the screen there. And then a New York Times Siena College poll came out today showing Donald Trump 37 points ahead of Ron DeSantis in that poll. And then, those two at double digits and then everyone else in the field at single digits. So clearly, I think Donald Trump right now is the presumptive front runner and does appear to be on track to get the nomination. Now, a lot could happen between now and the Iowa caucuses in January. But, these former cabinet officials saying they won't endorse Trump, they're making a statement, but I don't think it will really play with the GOP primary electorate.
Exactly. That doesn't seem like it will play, and neither does the op-ed piece that Mitt Romney wrote a few days ago. Julia, who is he trying to speak to? Because it seems to me that Republican voters are making up, or at least those who are looking at primary candidates have made up their mind. They want Trump and nothing less than.
Look, I think Senator Romney understands the state of the Republican Party, and he is in many ways an outcast now. He has positioned himself as a never-Trump Republican or a very anti-Trump Republican, one of the most vocal in the Senate, let alone Congress. So, look, I think he understands the stake of this. I think this really has to go along with his brand and what he personally stands for. I don't think Mitt Romney would, expect to maybe make a huge splash with primary voters with that op-ed alone. But I think there is this feeling among some Republicans who are in the Romney camp that they need to make an effort to speak out against Trump and to push back against the idea of his candidacy.
Julia, over the weekend, The Hill reporting that Mr. DeSantis seems to be on his 3rd round of layoffs within his campaign. What's happening? Are we watching a reboot 3.0 of Mr. DeSantis, or are we watching Mr. DeSantis fizzle out?
Well, according to his campaign, we're watching a reset. Earlier last week, his campaign sent out a memo to supporters saying that they were resetting and that they were going to focus on his great American comeback, a message that includes themes like the economy and pushing back against China. And we saw that today in New Hampshire, where in Rochester, he announced his declaration of economic independence plan to voters up there, very much trying to stick on the economy. This is an issue that plays very well with voters. It is most likely going to be, as it always is, the #1 issue for voters at the ballot box. And DeSantis is really trying to drill in that for Republican primary voters. Whether it will make a difference, we'll see. Like I said, that polling has Donald Trump 37 points ahead of Ron DeSantis. Even though Ron DeSantis has consistently been in second place, he has not gained any traction really in a lot of polling against Donald Trump. So we'll see if this reset works, but it's going to be a tough road ahead for him.
Yeah, I think at one point, Julia, they actually said, we're just going to let Ron DeSantis be Ron DeSantis. And we have to see if that's what the people actually want. Julia Manchester, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.